You know, it's been almost 20 years since the Sega Dreamcast was released, and it was in the early 2000s that Sega pulled out of the console market, mainly due to their lack of hardware sales. It takes a lot of money to develop and advertise a new console. Maybe not so much for add-ons like the Sega CD and the 32X, but I'm sure those weren't cheap either. And, since those had failed, Sega had lost money. And then the Sega Saturn also failed, so they lost money with that. And they basically had to empty their bank account to make the Dreamcast, and because that unfortunately failed, they just didn't have the money to make any more consoles. And why am I bringing this up? Well, to be honest, I feel like Sega's trying to come back. They actually have the Dreamcast servers up and running again, which I haven't really messed around with it, but that's pretty interesting. And there's been rumors going around that Sega wants to re-enter the console market. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, in my honest opinion, both. Because if they make a new, 8th gen console, so to speak, chances are their IPs would be exclusive to their system. Because, if they were multi-plat like they are now, what would be the point of buying their new system? But it would be nice to see more of their IPs. Like, obviously we'd see Sonic games would be exclusive to this system. Even though ever since the mid-2000s, Sonic games are kind of hit and miss. But we could also see, Shining Force and Streets of Rage, those would all be exclusive on there if they bring them back. I'd love to see come back as Eternal Champions. I was... how every fighting game that has finishing moves, there's always going to be compilation videos on YouTube, and recently... the other day when I'm recording this, and not the day I uploaded it, but the other day when I was recording this, I was watching a compilation video of all the finishers in Eternal Champions, and I'm looking at the comments section, and a lot of people are saying, this game needs to be rebooted. We need a reboot to this game, and I would have to agree. I mean, looking at the finishing things in that, it's just damn, it makes something like Mortal Kombat 2 look tame. Because you picture Mortal Kombat X, look at the fatalities in that. They're so over the top. Imagine an Eternal Champions game like that. Something I would love to see from Sega, whether it's on a new system or a multi-plat or whatever, is it'd probably make more sense on their own system, but whatever. Is if they made their own game like Smash Brothers, and I know people will be like, oh, they did, it was the Power Stone games. Power Stone games were actually made by Capcom, and the characters in that game were made specifically for those games. I'm talking about something that would be like Smash Brothers mechanics, but then you'd have characters from Sonic and Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Phantasy Star, throw Vector Man and Kid Chameleon in there. You get the picture. Now, another thing, if Sega decided to re-enter the console market, well, it would kind of add more fuel to the fire. Basically, it would create another army of fanboys and elitists, which, granted, those people can be annoying. I usually just try to ignore them, but the thing is, people can deny this till the cows come home, but it's still the truth. You need competition in order to keep things lively. Well, because, hypothetically, this is just a theory, if everything, there was no longer exclusives, no more console exclusives, platform exclusives, everything was just all on one, everything, Mario, God of War, Halo, everything's just all on one system, no longer competition, no longer exclusives. If that happened, I think the gaming industry would go to shit, because when you no longer have, rivals competing with each other to, keep each other on their toes, or try something new, or think outside the box, I mean, how many times has there been, a situation where Sony will do something new with the PS4, and Microsoft will be like, that's a great idea, we should do that with the Xbone. So, if you don't have competition, everything's just all in one, there's no longer rivals. They'll be like, well, what's the point? We'll just... What's the point of trying anymore? We'll just games would be completely half-assed. I mean, granted, we've seen half-assed games in the past number of years, but I'm talking about the fact that literally everything would be half-assed, because they're just like, well, like, no matter what, people are going to buy this game or whatever, so we don't need to polish it or try anything new. We'll just throw it out there, you know? So, I mean, that's just a theory, like I said, but it does make a lot of sense if you think about it. Now, even if Sega doesn't make an 8th gen console, what would be kind of cool is if they got into the mini console market. I mean, whether it's an 8th gen console or a mini console market, there's a lot of things they could do. I think the best thing for them to do would be to make a Kickstarter. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be more than willing to support that, but like I said, if they got into the mini console market, because, oh, those friggin' at-game systems. The at-games flashback systems. I've played my share of them. Oh, they're terrible. Even the more recent one, people were saying like, oh, it's better than the other ones, and it was like, because it's like, oh, it's gonna be like it's made to look like a Model 1 Genesis, and I was like, or Genesis flashback system, Genesis Mega Drive, excuse me. I was like, well, I have the SNES Classic Edition. That was really the only mini system that I wanted to get, but because, so maybe I'll get one of these mini Genesis Mega Drive things, because that was the most epic rivalry in video game history. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll get that. Well, the system comes out, this new Genesis flashback thing, and it's just as bad as all the other at-game systems. Maybe slightly better, but not much. And then it's only a tad smaller than an actual Genesis, so it's like, well, okay, what's the point of that, really? And on top of all that, they left out some classic titles. Like, there's not a single Streets of Rage game on there. Like, you fucking kidding me? Like, why? But that's the thing, Sega, even if they don't get, like, they just need to get away from at games. I don't know what the story behind there is, but they just need to get away from them and make their own official mini systems. Like Nintendo makes, made the NES Mini and the SNES Mini. It's possible they'll do an N64 Mini. Who knows? A lot of people want to see a Game Boy Mini. I made a whole video. I'd love to see Sony do a PS1 Mini, but imagine if Sega did it. I mean, because not only would the system be better because it's officially from Sega, but they could also look into all their other systems, like the Master System and a mini Saturn, a mini Dreamcast. Like, I think people would love that. If people say they want to see a mini Game Boy, so hey, they could do a mini Game Gear. So, and that's just my thoughts on this whole thing of Sega trying to come back into the console market. I think it would be nice to see. But, that being said, what do you guys think about Sega re-entering the console market? And if they do decide to do it, should they make an 8th gen system, or get into the mini console market and make like mini versions of these in the Sega Saturn and such? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, thanks for watching, and as Mighty Max would always say, see you next week.